Have you ever wondered what it really takes to learn a language as powerful as C++? Well, we're about to demystify the whole thing. We're going to break down a complete university course, mapping out the entire journey from your very first line of code to building some seriously complex software.
It's a huge question, right? And a massive part of the answer is C++. From those high-performance games you love to the very operating system running on your computer, C++ is the engine humming behind the scenes. And this course, well, it's designed to hand you the keys to that engine.
So here's the roadmap for our tour. We're going to start with the why, getting the philosophy behind C++. Then we'll build up your toolkit with all the fundamentals. After that, we unlock some really powerful features, like pointers, learn to think like a software architect with objects, and finally, see how it all comes together to create real-world applications.
All right, first things first, why even learn C++? At its core, it's all about a major shift in thinking, moving from just writing a list of instructions to actually designing smart, reusable systems.
Now this is where it gets really interesting, because it breaks down two totally different ways to program. On the left, you've got procedural programming. It's kind of like a long recipe, just a top-down list of steps to follow. But on the right, you have object-oriented programming, and that is the absolute heart of C++. It's a different beast entirely. It models the real world by creating these objects. Things like a customer, a car, or a bank account that have their own data and their own behaviors. This makes your programs way more secure and just a whole lot easier to manage for big, complex projects.
So here's the key takeaway. C++ isn't just about spitting out code. It's about designing entire systems. By creating these objects that actually mirror things in the real world, you can build software that's more intuitive, way more secure, and can grow to handle almost anything.
Okay, so we've got the why down. Now it's time to actually forge your toolkit. This next section covers the absolute essentials. We're talking the nuts and bolts of the C++ language. Think of all this stuff as the basic grammar of programming. You're going to learn about variables for storing information, operators for doing the math, and control flow statements like if-else so your program can make decisions. Then you've got arrays and strings to handle big collections of data. This is the bedrock, the foundation for everything else.
And this slide perfectly shows what actually happens to your code. See, you write it in a simple text file. Then the compiler translates it into a language the machine can understand. The linker connects it to any other code libraries it needs, and boom! Finally, the computer can execute it as a running application. Every single C++ program goes through this lifecycle.
And that's really the main goal here. It's not about just memorizing keywords. It's about learning a new way to think, how to break down big problems into smaller pieces and solve them logically with code.
All right, so once you've got the fundamentals down, it's time to level up. This next part is all about gaining direct control over your computer's memory and making your code way more efficient and organized using things called pointers and functions.
Now, pointers can sound a little intimidating, but trust me, the concept is pretty simple. If a normal variable is like a box that holds a piece of data, a pointer isn't the box itself, it's the mailing address for that box. It gives you a direct, low-level way to find and mess with data, and that is incredibly powerful.
And why do we need that kind of power? Well, pointers are the secret sauce for making your programs fast and memory efficient. They let you work with big chunks of data, like arrays and strings with surgical precision, and they're absolutely essential for building more advanced things like linked lists or trees.
This comparison really shows you pointers in action. When you pass data by value, you're basically sending a photocopy to a function. Any changes it makes are just on the copy, not the original. But when you pass by reference using a pointer, you're giving the function the original document. Any changes it makes are permanent. It's way more efficient and a lot more powerful.
And now we get to the real heart of modern C++. Once you have the fundamentals and those power tools in hand, you learn to stop writing simple scripts and start designing complex systems using object-oriented programming.
Here's a perfect example of an OOP concept, function overloading. It sounds complicated, but it just means you can have one smart function name, like add, that knows how to handle different things. It can add integers or decimals, or maybe even complex numbers. And as this quote says, the compiler is smart enough to figure out which version to use based on the data you feed it. Pretty cool, right? This is where you really start thinking like an architect. You'll master these huge ideas, like inheritance, where a sports car object can get all the features of a basic car object for free, and polymorphism, which lets that same car object behave in lots of different ways. These are the concepts that let you build truly solid, reusable code.
And if you remember one thing, make it this analogy. A class is like the architect's blueprint for a car. It defines everything a car is and everything it can do. An object is an actual, physical car that you build from that blueprint. You can build millions of unique car objects, all from that one single reusable class blueprint.
Okay, so you've learned the theory, you've got the fundamentals, and you understand the advanced design principles. So what's the payoff? Well, this final section is all about taking that knowledge and using it to create real, actual applications.
This is where the rubber meets the road. The whole point of the course is to get you building practical projects just like these. You're not just solving some abstract puzzle, you're building a hotel reservation system or an inventory manager, things that solve actual problems in the real world. And finally, you learn the skills that take a basic program and make it professional. We're talking about handling input and output from files, managing errors so your program doesn't just crash, and using templates to write generic, reusable code that you can use over and over. This is what makes software truly reliable.
So, by the end of it all, these are your new superpowers. The course is built to take you from solving basic problems all the way to developing full applications that can handle files, deal with errors, and tackle complex, real-world logic using that powerful, object-oriented design.
So, in a nutshell, the entire course is one big continuous journey. It starts with the simple ABCs of C++ syntax and finishes with you being able to design and build complex solutions for real-world challenges. This course gives you the map and all the tools. So the only question left is, what amazing things are you going to build with them?
And that map is Course 24CS101. The path from beginner to builder is laid out right in front of you. Thanks for taking this tour with us.